Good afternoon. We're going to call to order the special session meeting at 4:45. Craig, would you lead us off with the flag salute, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Of our land acknowledgement, we acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Snohomish people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered, and taken care of these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, and voices to form a more just and equitable society. So we are moving on to our candidate interviews, and as you know, we're here to interview candidates for District 3. And this will be a familiar process to many of you. We're going to ask the same questions of each candidate. Each candidate has about 20 minutes. For folks who are here in the room with us, I think you have some feedback forms. For folks who are online, there's an option to provide feedback as well. And I think the recording is going to be available to the public for a good 2 days, about 48 hours. So if folks aren't able to watch in real time, they can watch a little bit later and provide feedback. And our first candidate this evening is Cam Christine Bradley. Hello, Cam, welcome. Just so you know what the process is, we are all going to ask questions, and we're asking the same questions of each candidate. So, and I get to start off. Briefly describe your background as it relates to your appointment as a Marysville School Board Director, including any prior service on a board or commission.
So, I don't know if that works or if you can hear me. Oh, there. There we go. I'm born and raised a few blocks away from here on 61st Avenue, where my mom still lives, 40, I date myself 50 years later. I have 3 younger siblings. We all went through Marysville School District. We all attended Pinewood, Marysville Middle School, and junior high. I think my youngest brother, Cedar Crest, and graduated from Marysville Tech. So I have very deep roots here. I love for my community, and as an adult, I have been very fortunate to be exposed to different scenarios, opportunities that have put me into leadership positions in businesses, in public speaking, in inspirational situations, in volunteer and community. I'm currently on a leave of absence, but Marysville Rotary president, and I got to experience amazing things there. We raised $202,000 last year for kids scholarships. We've gone to Guatemala and built schools. That was one of the best experiences in my life. And I think that I've seen a lot of the world, good and bad. And I live about 4 houses down now here. I'm not going anywhere. Just opened a new restaurant last Thursday, the other town, 1933 Bar Plus Kitchen. I love bringing everything that I have an opportunity to bring to my community and to build it strong. And that being said, the kiddos are the foundation of all of that. My oldest is going to be graduating this year, and so I don't have any technical skin in the game, but my passion is for everybody in this community to succeed. And I know we've had a really rough go at it, and this is not a glamorous position at this point, but I do feel like all of my business knowledge, after running a multi-million-dollar company for 22 years now, and several different companies in the interim, that I have the financial background and skills to help on the financial side. And all of my work that I've done with the community and volunteers and leadership and mentoring to help on the side that's going to pertain to continuing building up equity in our school district. So I just feel like I have a lot to offer and I'm very passionate about it.
Thank you so much.
Cam. Hello, Cam, Eliza Davis. What two to three strengths can our district be proud of? And why do you consider these strengths?
Okay, that's, honestly, that's a difficult one at this time. And that's a broad question as well. So our district, meaning the district office or meaning the kids or, it's a pretty broad question, but I think these kids have been through a lot and they've been very resilient. I did have two sons in the cafeteria during the shooting. I actually beat the police officers there. It just happened to be driving down Schultes and my one son called me. So I'm really proud of how everybody handled that. Nobody took it for granted or tried to exploit it. And at that time, I still had the trampoline park in Arlington. And when school closed down for that week, I opened it up to the entire community. And I got, donations from Alfie's Pizza and different places. And we welcomed everyone. And I was really moved and touched, and it was very emotional that both sides of the situation attended, and there was tears. So there was a large tribal presence and there was a large non-tribal presence. There was a lot of hugging going on. There was a lot of praying going on. And I felt really blessed to have been able to provide that and to actually watch that transpire in front of me. And I think, I don't know how much more proud you could be of during such a difficult situation where people could have been pointing a lot of fingers. Instead, they were coming together, and I'm very proud of that.
Thanks for me. What unique qualities would you bring as a member of the school board? Are there aspects of your education and experience that you feel would be especially helpful in this position?
Yes, I'll go back to, so I've owned with my husband Absolute Drywall for 24 years about, and I have done the finances all of these years. So it's not necessarily fun, but it's given me a lot of knowledge and experience dealing with finances, budgets, making things work during difficult times through the recession, through COVID. I helped several, I think I was the first company to get the PPP money in Washington State. And then I felt very blessed to help several other businesses qualify and get them that. During that time, I also was on the Aaron's committee to reopen Snohomish County. And we were working tireless for the small business owners and helping them with their finances and their budgets and checking out different avenues and ways that they can keep their businesses going without using everything for them. That was a very powerful thing. I'm a public speaker, inspirational speaker. I do, I just feel like I am very well-rounded from, and I'm sure there's going to be people that don't agree with me, but that's okay. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt about that because my intention here really is for the kiddos. And some of the decisions that are going to be coming to this position aren't going to be fun. They're just going to be hard. And I'm very good at numbers and budgets, and that's a blessing from all of the businesses that I have run over the years. They just have extensive experience, and I feel like that can only benefit this situation.
So can you share some examples from your prior leadership experience where you successfully influenced decisions and shifted mindsets?
a lot of different scenarios. So even just going back to drywall company, the negativity sometimes with employees and, you know, it only takes one bad one that gets upset one day that can just spread so quickly. So making sure that you know when it's appropriate to pull someone aside and, you know, work with them individually and then put them back in place so that the team can continue to pursue. Those are really big things, and I think that's something that's really gonna apply here too. I know that there's unfortunately some quite a bit of negativity going on around this. And so mindset and being positive is a huge part of how we are going to have to find success. And I am one of those people who does find reasons to be happy and hopeful, and I am very persuasive and with facts though. I'm not gonna, we're not teasing someone into believing anything. There's always a way to show someone that something can be better. And I feel really comfortable that I am in a position that I can do that. When someone loses, maybe their cool, that I can calm them down and bring them right back down to the facts and the decisions that we have to make to get better.
Thank you so much.
Similarly, can you describe a time when you made a suggestion or supported a position and you were not in the majority? What happened?
Just thinking about that out there, you know, you pick your brain when you only have a few minutes to look at things. I mean, on small scales, I can think of that, just again, in business where, you know, I thought that there'd be a better way to do something and I didn't win, and it's probably because the majority was my husband. And I was a shorter majority, but, you know, especially when you believe in something passionate and you're for sure that your way is gonna work, you have to be humble. You have to be humble and be able to take in everybody else's opinions. And even if you still believe that theirs is not the right one, I mean, you still coexist and then get on board and you support whichever direction the team's going in.
Not as fast as You're good. To your done.
How will you address the different needs of all students if appointed to the school board?
Marysville's been really, one of the things they can be proud of is they've been really good about it. And making sure that all children and students have the tools that they specifically need as an individual to pave the path to success. So I really believe that that's gonna continue it and only evolve further to allow this, you know, further to allow them to continue to be successful. It's been, you know, a major focus of this school district for a really long time, and I don't see that ever changing, and I don't see in the near future having any problems with that. I would just jump on board. I mean, our equity program and everybody that talks about, we're really inclusive with that, and it's a big part of it. And I would just be happy to be a part of what's already happening, and then, you know, have input and say and suggestions. But that is definitely something I'm proud of for our school district that we've been so outright with.
So next question, describe your vision for public education in the Marysville School District. What would that look like for a student attending Marysville schools?
I get to make a movie up, right? That every child got to get on a bus safely, just, you know, a block from their home, ride the bus to school without any problems or bullying or anything on that bus. they exit and make it to their classrooms that are prepared for them, has all the materials that they need to individually succeed. And they go from class to class, they have their amazing lunch, they have, like, they have their specialty classes, might have gym time, but their day flows smoothly without a bunch of hiccups. I know that that's not very realistic because we have kids of all kinds, makes, models from all different parts of the world, and that does come with some, conflict, but being able to address that conflict to minimize it is best. That would be my goal, to make every kid be able to step off that bus and feel safe when they go in to do what they're supposed to be doing, which is learning. And again, them having the tools that they need as specifically as an individual to make that happen. It's our job to prepare these kids for success at every level, and that could be a learning tool, or it could be keeping them safe. It's all, it's a very broad area to address, but yeah, getting the kids to school safely with all the tools they need to be successful.
Thank you.
What two things do you see as areas of improvement for us as a district? And how can we build systems or structures to overcome them? Explain how we would know when we achieve this, when we have achieved this.
So I think, there's several things that we should be focusing on. I'm going to be bold and say, number one right now, besides kids, is finances. And then right behind that would be equity. Like, those should be our two biggest focuses right now. And I do not know the ins and outs and all the details of the financial part. I've read, quite a bit about it, but I know that we are not the only school district in this situation. I know that we got targeted, but there are several that are really close to the same situation we're in. And I think that starting there is the foundation of what we need to do going forward. At the same time, not losing that perspective of we are still doing this for children and not letting that side of what we do slide at all. That needs to remain intact. There, again, back to the safety and inclusion, that we can't back up on that, but this school district really needs to have financial stability, and it's not just for the school district, it's for the community too, for economics. The housing market, you build houses and people don't want to come here because they don't want their kids to go to school here. Like, it doesn't just stop with the kiddos. Again, that's our focus, but it's a really big picture that it's gonna take, I think, a lot of set of eyes and ears on this, people with different experiences to put heads together to make the best plan moving forward so that everybody benefits, in a positive way, starting with kids.
What motivates you to want to become a board member? What do you think is expected of you as an individual board member and as a member of the board of directors?
What inspires me is being, born and raised on 8510 61st Drive, Northeast Arizona. Our house was 800 square feet. I think after my third brother was born, they did a little remodel and we were 1200 square feet. I was raised very modestly. I remember standing in the food bank lines. And in my young teens, I decided that I wanted to do something different, that I wanted to overcome that scenario, that living scenario. And when I did, that I wanted to help other people figure out how to do that too. That is how I live. I do a lot of mentoring of kids, do a lot of community service work, build schools in Guatemala. I've done every kind of community service work you can think of. And I just, this is just another way for me to touch the world that fulfills my goals, knowing that I, have that to offer. To not try to be a part of it would be letting myself down too. I know that I can help the situation out. I'm passionate about this. I have coached, I've coached, I've read DECA transcripts for schools. I've stayed completely involved in the Marysville School District my entire life. I am very invested, not just in the school district, but again, our community, and at the end of the day, those two are actually one. And we need to get success on board for both of them.
Thank you. I think I have the last question. I'm gonna, oh, you're good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, last question. School board service requires a substantial time commitment. How will you ensure that you're fully engaged and contributing to the significant amount of work ahead of us?
So I am very fortunate that I work for myself, and so I'm allowed to shift my schedule around to accommodate your hours and the hours that's going to be required by me to be a positive and influential part of this board. I know, take the leave of absence from the Rotary president position to finish my restaurant, but that's a different scenario. And now I'm open, so everything is slowing down and I am gonna have that opportunity. And as soon as I heard that this was an opening, it wasn't even a doubt in my mind that I was gonna do it. In fact, I have a few friends in the district who tried to talk me out of it, just because they were more worried about, the treatment of the board members. And but that doesn't bother me because I do know I have a lot to offer, and a lot of skills and a lot of history, and I just I have to give it my best shot.
Thank you so much. I think we are all done. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Kim.
And just one note before our next candidate comes in, if I neglected to mention at the beginning, several of the questions that we're asking tonight were questions that came from community members. Just so folks know that as well.
Director Michael. Can you make an announcement that the feedback forms for our Zoom participants are posted in the chat?
Okay, I understand that the feedback forms for participants who are listening online are posted in the chat. I think our next candidate is Edward Anthony Avea the third. I think we're gonna take a brief break here. The candidate that we expected to have here at this point in time isn't here. And so I think our next candidate interview will be at about 5:20. Is that correct, Jane?
5:30.
Oh, at 5:30. So we're gonna take just a few minutes. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
We certainly would be happy to have them this evening also. But it's just the same as the folks that are online, and the link is gonna be up online on the board page. For feedback, if you would just as soon provide feedback online, so either is fine. And with that, we're gonna ask Mark Thomas to come in. Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for being with us this evening. Just so you know what the process is, each of the board members are gonna ask a question.
Okay.
Ask a series of questions, and it's the same questions that all of the candidates have been asked. And I get to begin. So could you briefly describe your background as it relates to your appointment as a Marysville School District Board Director, including any prior service on a board or commission?
Sure. First off, my name is Mark Thomas. I've been a resident of the Marysville School District now for over 30 years. Both my daughters went through school in the Marysville School District, graduated from MPHS. I'm very proud of them, what they've been able to do. And I very much appreciate the education they got from the Marysville School District. My own particular background, I moved to Washington State when I was 12 years old and grew up in Kitsap County across the water. And went to college down in Tacoma at University of Puget Sound, and wound up working for a company that ultimately became Raytheon Technologies right out of college. And I worked there for 42 years in a variety of capacities. I came in as a software technician and engineer. And while I was working at Raytheon, which was then called by a different name, I went to law school. And I graduated from law school and was working in for 12 years in the contracts and legal department of Raytheon. And then there was some restructuring in organization, and I was offered a position working in the business management organization, where I moved from being a legal role, although I continued to rely on my legal experience, to managing a business, a small business unit within the company that was based in Kitsap County, but was scattered across the country in New England and also in Hawaii. In those roles, I got to learn a lot about managing an organization, working with people, working with teams, forming teams, leading teams, consolidating teams. We had a lot of experience with, I mean, in my job as a senior manager, we dealt with a lot of crises. Most of them were financial in some nature. We often had to make some very difficult decisions in order to navigate the waters. Those decisions had to be based on facts and data. We needed good solid backing on those decisions because first off, we knew that they would be reviewed by management and we would have to have good reasons for the actions we were taking. And secondly, we also had to satisfy the needs of the employees because they wanted to make sure most of these situations affected them significantly. And we'd have to make sure that they understood the process and that it was fair. They may not have been happy necessarily with the outcome, but overall there needed to be a strong feeling that the process was fair. And obviously we needed to make sure that whatever we did kept our customers happy because we weren't gonna stay in business if we made decisions. You can see some examples what sometimes happens if in the local news, if you run a business and you don't pay attention to the impact that's gonna have on your customers and your employees. And so, that was a very important lesson for me. So I think those, particular parts of my background, apply to working as a, Marysville School District Board member.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I have the next question.
Good evening, Eliza Davis. What 2 to 3 strengths can our district be proud of? Why do you consider these strengths?
I think one really big strength about this district, is, the diversity of both its community and its staff. I think that, it's really good to see that. You don't often see that sometimes in some suburban districts. But there's a lot of that here, and I think people learn more about life being in a diverse environment, and I think that's a huge strength that this district has. That maybe not necessarily, every elementary school isn't necessarily extremely diverse, but by the time you get up into middle school and high school, you're getting the opportunity to deal with people from a lot of different backgrounds. And when that happens, I think that's a big strength, that when kids can come out of high school with their diploma, knowing how to work well with people who aren't just like them. The second thing I think is a huge, and I'm a little biased on this, so I'll have to explain, but the other thing I think is a huge strength of this district is the staff. I think the staff is absolutely top notch. They're really committed to the success of the school district and the success of the students. And I've had the opportunity to experience that both as a parent and working with various staff members. But also, my wife was a staff member in this district until she retired last August of 2023. She worked at Cascade Elementary School for a number of years, first as a classroom teacher and then as a school librarian. And through her, I got an opportunity to meet a lot of the staff at various schools, and always appreciated the type of people that were. And I also got to hear their complaints and concerns, and I think that's good. I think you should have a staff that questions leadership and asks for explanations and reasons as to why things are happening. So, and I think that when the Marysville staff I work with gets that, their commitment is unbelievable. And so I really think that's an amazing strength of the district.
Thanks, Craig. What unique qualities would you bring as a member of the school board? Are there aspects of your education experience that you feel would be especially helpful in this position?
Well, I think I've discussed that a little bit already. And I've mentioned, I am an attorney and I'm still a licensed attorney in the state of Washington, although I don't practice anymore. I know this job doesn't involve being a Marysville School District attorney, but one of the things I learned when I transitioned into a management role was that background and that understanding was really helpful for me in problem solving, especially when there were legal considerations involved. I felt qualified to ask the attorney's lawyer questions and could often understand the answers as well. So I think it made me a better manager, that gave me a better insight to be able to, having had that experience. And I think that would be helpful to me as a school board school board member. As I said, I have experience in dealing with significant budget issues, in trying to get people to agree on numbers, because it's amazing how often people will come up with completely different numbers for the same thing. And you need to understand how those numbers where those numbers came from, and what the support is for, and are they really achievable? And then you have the aspect then of what's the impact of those numbers on people, because there are people who are going to be impacted, and they're not all going to be happy about it. And you've got to be able to explain to them why they're having to deal with this. And again, how the process was fair. Why is this appropriate to do this? And they do have a right. They do have a right to question. They have a right to ask and try to understand why. And it's incumbent on whatever your management role is, whether it's direct line management or a board of directors. It's incumbent upon those folks to be able to explain why they're doing what they're doing, at least to the satisfaction of the great majority of the folks who are affected.
Please share examples from your prior leadership experience where you successfully influenced decisions and shifted mindsets.
Yeah, I thought about this. That was kind of my job, at least for ever since I got into the legal position. My job was in essence influencing decisions and shifting mindsets. But here's a couple of examples. During my role in the contracts and legal department, I was often called on to negotiate. In other words, where I would have to sit with across the table from customers who were absolutely convinced this should cost half of what we said we were offering for them. And I had to convince them using facts and data that the numbers we were proposing were reasonable numbers. And in fact, I got pretty good at that because after I moved into a management role, I often took side assignments, and one of the side assignments that I was often given was to not necessarily be the prime negotiator, but to lead a negotiating team. And that would I always found that very interesting work. I liked sitting across from folks and discussing why we have differences and why we need to look at things, perhaps both need to look at things in a different manner in order to come to the correct conclusion. So that was one example. A second one, which was rather late in my career, we had an HR incident that I don't want to get into the details come up, but basically one of our employees quit because of some very disrespectful comments that were being made, some very derogatory comments that were being made. The employee did not want to press anything further, did not want to name any names or anything else, but it was clear we had a significant issue that needed to be addressed. And so I called the entire facility together and I talked with the HR folks and got the appropriate data and presented some very detailed training materials on why it was important that even though we have differences and we look at things differently, we have to treat everyone else at work with respect. If you have a particular viewpoint on certain topics and it makes it and you don't want to deal with that issue in your private life, that's one thing. But the fact is, we're all here together. We're all working on purpose, and every one of us deserves respect. And I felt there was a significant change in the attitude after we had that discussion. And maybe some people will just suppress their emotions or something. But on the other hand, I thought we did not have any more issues of that type coming up, and I was very proud I could do that. And then the final one that again kind of came up quite a lot in during my the end of my career was I was often put in charge of preparing proposals for submission to the customer. And most difficult thing about preparing a proposal is, of course, everyone has to bid on it. And so you have to coordinate all these bids and come up with a final number that's acceptable, that you think is gonna be acceptable to the customer. And so, very often we get on the stage where we'd start out in a position where certain organizations would claim, there's no way we can do this for less than a certain amount. So again, you have to sit down and discuss with them in detail, well, how did you derive your number? What are you using as a basis for that? Well, what are your underlying assumptions? What's driving this up? And so it wound up being it wound up being a back and forth, almost an internal negotiation over how can we do. I understand you think that doing this is going to cost this much, but how can we still meet the objectives of the customer by doing that, something lower, and saving money? What are the fruits for doing that? And so getting people to agree that yes, in fact, they don't have to be ultra conservative. They can look at doing things in a fresh way, and all that stuff was a big part of my job and something I enjoyed.
Similarly, can you describe a time when you made a suggestion or supported a position and you were not in the majority? What happened?
Yeah, that happened an awful lot of the time. Sometimes it was very interesting. I mean, it was a part of it too was my management style. In other words, I would make a decision, but everybody understood that if they had a good reason why the issue should be reopened, I would reconsider it. And so there were more than one case when I wanted to set up a team or an organization and staff it in a particular way, and I wanted to be saying that, and I talked to my staff, and one of the braver ones said, "Mark, you might want to reconsider that." And I would go talking around, and one thing I find is that, the best thing you can do is when people start having questions is talk to them. So I give everybody a chance to talk. And they found out, I may be the boss, but I wasn't in the majority. This was, I usually think about it for a little bit, and then, but if the arguments were sound, first off, everybody understood. Who worked for me understood if you have a question, you can bring it up. But even if in the end I wind up disagreeing with you, I'm still. But if you've got good points, sometimes you got to listen to other people's good points and change your viewpoint. You can't always. Well, you're not always right, and sometimes you just have to listen to what people say and understand how they got to their point and decide whether that's something you need to take into account.
Thank you. Thank you. Number 6, how will you address the different needs of all students if appointed to the school board?
I would really, and I don't know how appropriate this is, but I would really like an opportunity to meet with as many different groups as possible during this whole process. I would like to make myself available as much as I possibly could to talk with parents, with teachers, with other staff within the district. Because I think the only way to figure out how to address people's needs is to hear what their needs and concerns are. And I want to hear that directly from as many people as I possibly can. So what I would focus on, the first thing I would focus on is listening at whatever opportunities we can set up so that to give people an opportunity to make their concerns, their issues, and their needs felt. And then second, and part of it's my training, and just part of it's just my experience. But I'm a real I'm really focused on the fairness of process. I think particularly when you're dealing with contentious issues I mean, contentious emotional issues. And student needs are big, sometimes big contentious emotional issues. I'm really big in ensuring that the processes, we have processes and the processes are fair. That's probably the biggest consideration, because particularly in the environment we're in, everyone is not going to have all of their needs met, at least not maybe the way that they want them met. But we've got to make sure that to the maximum extent possible, we're being fair to everyone.
You, our next question. I'm not sure my mic back on. Thank you. So next question, describe your vision for public education in the Marysville School District. What would that look like for a student attending Marysville schools?
Well, I think I mentioned one is, I would like this to be a model for diversity. I would like if Marysville was looked at as a place where kids went and when they graduated, they understood how to work and live and prosper in a diverse environment. Not just one group, one viewpoint, but along a whole spectrum of the community. So that's really important to me. The other is, the quality of the education is also hugely important to me. I would like every child to have the opportunities my daughters had. My daughters both graduated from MPHS, have gone on to college, got their college degrees from University of Washington and Oregon State, so two not slouch universities, and they're I'm really proud of them. I would like every student to feel that not every student's going to want to go to college. I understand that. But every student's going to have to graduate, or every student needs to graduate with a desire to learn, because learning, whatever job you get, whatever career you have, you need to learn. You're going to have to learn new things, and you're not just going to be doing the same thing over and over for the rest of your life. So I really want the children to feel that when they get out, that they're going to be prepared to deal with the learning challenges they're going to face for the rest of their life.
Thank you. Thank you.
What two things do you see as areas of improvement for us as a district? And how can we build systems or structures to overcome them? Explain how we would know when we have achieved success.
The district has gone through a really hard time, and I think there's a strong lack of confidence amongst a significant segment of the staff in where the district has gone over the last few years. And I think there also is a very strong lack of confidence in certain segments of the community. Really, those folks need to be re-engaged and feel that their voices are being heard, that the organization is focused on their success. And I think, a number of good things are happening, but it's clearly not over yet. The organization that's going to be operating here is going to change some more. And so during that process, it's incumbent upon the board, I think, to help with that process. I mean, I recognize that the main, the main changes are going to have to come through your office, Dr. Burgess, but, you know, it's incumbent on the board to offer advice and an awful lot of support, because I think all of those groups want the organization to succeed. I think they really are. I mean, there's a few people who are, but I think the overwhelmingly, staff and the community want this school district to succeed, and I think well, first off, the how will you know? First off, the Marysville school staff they're not shrinking violence. I mean, it's gonna be very easy to tell. It's gonna be very easy to tell when, you have the confidence of the staffs again. Once they're on board, there's gonna be a whole lot I mean, a whole lot of things are gonna become apparent. Now, the community is a little harder, because if you get, there's still gonna be an awful lot of diversity in the response coming back from the community. And some people are probably not gonna be happy with the way that, these problems are gonna have to be solved. But you're still gonna be able to tell. I mean, certainly the community impartially speaks, every time when there's a levy or something, well, and if you're not winning, then obviously you don't have the support of the community. I mean, that's a pretty easy way to tell, but hopefully you can tell before that, because that's comes at the end of the process and not at the beginning. So I think in the meantime, we need to continue having, even once the decisions are made regarding how we're going to how the board's going to set the budget, how the board's going to deal with the facility closures or whatever needs to happen. It's very important throughout the process, all of the changes being implemented, that there continues to be strong communication with the community. Because again, if you're actually communicating with them, I don't think it's going to be very hard to figure out what their particular viewpoint is at the current time.
What motivates you to want to become a board member? What do you think is expected of you as an individual board member and as a member of the board of directors?
What motivates me to become a board member is I want to help. As I said, I over the years I've lived here, I've received a lot of benefit from the school district, both in terms of my daughter's education and my wife's career, and I feel very strongly that people need to step up when help is needed. That's what I want to do. I think I've got some diverse, some different experiences and backgrounds that may be helpful, and so I'd like to help. What's expected of me as an individual board member? I'm gonna offer advice. I'm gonna seek answers to questions that I think people want to know the answers to. And I'm gonna work with the rest of the board as possible, as much as possible on the tasks that need to be done. As I said, I like to spend as much time as possible talking to as much of the community, of the staff, of every group that's talking to get their opinions, because I think it's really going to be important when all this is said and done that everybody who has a concern on this feels that they had a chance to give their say and that it was taken seriously. But as a member of the board of directors, it's a little bit of a different role. It's as a group, the board of directors has to come up with a policy. And that policy, that approval of budgets and all of that, I mean, the board of directors aren't all going to agree on it. There's gonna have to be, some compromise, some understanding, and some, and working together. And I, that's the hardest part about working in a team of equals, because nobody gets to just make the final decision and say, that's it. And it is always beneficial if you can come out of those disagreements with everybody supporting the final decision, whatever it is. And I guess that would be my goal, is that the board comes up with final decisions that everyone can support. Everyone on the board can support, and I hope that would be possible.
Thank you. I think I have the last question. School board service requires a substantial time commitment. How will you ensure that you're fully engaged and contributing to the significant amount?
Well, I think as I related, I'm retired. I don't have a job of any kind at the moment. I've had some duties that have occupied my time past year and a half, but hopefully those are through right now, and so I certainly have time to devote to this.
Wonderful. I think with that, we're done for the evening. Thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I think that last interview concludes our interviews of candidates, and then we are going to close our special session really close to on time at 5:58. The board is now going to go into an executive session for 1 hour. Make it 6 o'clock from 6 to 7. We go right back. Okay, so from 6 to 7 to evaluate the qualifications of a candidate for appointment. No action will be taken during the executive session. And the selected candidate will be announced at a future regular session board meeting. Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.